Hi, this is Fugues, and I'm feeling really vulnerable. Not because this is the first episode, but because I feel like I have to come clean about something right off the bat. I think I might be really irrational. Maybe not my behavior necessarily in any detectable way. It's really my thinking. I don't trust the direction my mind takes me in certain moments. So I'm going to share two personal fugues for this episode that I hope explains why being rational is so hard for me, but also maybe everyone. And if you haven't listened to the trailer, the word fugue in this podcast refers to a story or a retelling of a former state of mind. If you need more explanation, just check the trailer or read the description. In times when rampant conspiracy theories are on full display, I know this next fugue will ring true for anyone either engaged in irrational thinking or mindful of the irrational ideas surrounding them in person or online. It's called, Where is my goddamn egg spatula? My girlfriend Monty moved into my apartment last June 2020, right in the middle of total chaos and pandemonium in the whole world. And she made the hellscape of that summer not just bearable, but actually really wonderful and fun. More importantly, though, she cleaned the ever-loving shit out of my apartment. What was originally messy, ordinary, gray, and very dusty was transformed to look unique, green, organized, and very clean. By July, she'd done a complete overhaul. My friend Dan came over, who'd been to my place 1,000 times before, told me he barely recognized the old hovel. So really, it was an overhovel.
Barf.
Shush. If there's one downside of the overhovel, it's that I often still don't know where certain things are. And being a creature of habit, it stresses me out sometimes like a whiny child. So one day, back in December 2020, I was working from home and about 10 minutes into my lunch routine. The yolks in my fried eggs were just turning whitish, the avocado was sliced, and the toast had just popped. Hot sauce and pickles are out, salt and pepper next to the silverware and plate. I just needed my egg spatula. So I'm wondering, where is the damn thing? Why wasn't it in Monty's new utensil holder area place? So I tried the second cabinet drawer with all the miscellaneous kitchen stuff, but I kind of knew it wasn't in there too. My internal monologue started a Twitter rant. I have lost my egg spatula to the Monty cleaning army conspiracy. Hashtag rage, hashtag cooking, hashtag fried eggs. So I fumble around for a lesser spatula, but now I'm being reckless because baby didn't have a special toy. And in my spaz, as I tried to move the eggs to the plate, I mistakenly punctured one of the fried eggs, and then I watched on in horror as it leaked that special golden egg jizz all over the pan. Out loud now, I'm addressing her. She's not home, by the way, which emboldens me. Honey, could you have left me a breadcrumb trail so I can locate my egg spatula? So I sat there sulking, ate my ruined eggs, and took my dishes to the sink and ran the water. The sound of my clanking dishes sparked a memory of doing the dishes from the night before, and I remembered the sound of something falling into the space between our floor-standing kitchen cabinet and the wall, a situation I was feeling too lazy to investigate at the time. But that's when I realized where my spatula was. Poor thing was trapped back there because it fell out of the, and I'm sorry to say here, Monty, precariously positioned utensil holder. So I pulled the cabinet away from the wall, and sure enough, there baby was. And right in that instant, the whole paranoid delusion of Monty having moved it to some undisclosed location, Schrodinger's catted out of existence. Welcome to the first edition of this Egg Spatula post-fugue analysis. I'm your host, the conspiracy theorist Spaz, Gabriel Berezin.
And I'm his trusty sidekick, asshole, Gabe's inner voice. Speaking of which, it's really you that's the asshole, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes one to know one.
So what's this again?
We're doing some post-game on some of the common mental phenomenon that contributed to my poor logic regarding the lost spatula.
Apophenia?
Apophenia.
Apophenia.
Yeah, this word's getting popular. It was in Stranger Things, and then I heard it in The Queen's Gambit recently. It's our pattern-making instinct.
It's like stoner brain.
Right, like if you're hanging out with a stoner, they're more likely to make connections between ideas that aren't probably very valid.
So it's like the hot hand delusion.
Yeah, exactly. Your last three rolls at the Bellagio craps table have nothing to do with the next roll's outcome.
Or like Christians seeing the Virgin Mary on a cinnamon roll.
Right, and if you're me, sitting on a beach seeing Prince's face in a cloud.
I have a feeling this is not the first time we're going to hear about Prince.
That is correct.
So your hothead took two ideas. One, a lost spatula, and two, things not being where they're supposed to be, and you constructed a theory before you, whoever you are in this case, even had a chance to review if it was even true.
Shamefully, yes, and in no time I believed this was Monty's fault and I was unfairly annoyed with her.
But you were wrong.
Yeah, and when she listens to this, I'm going to tell her it was Apophenia's fault. Sorry, honey, and for the record, I love where the spatula is now.
Good save. Hey, listener. Gabe's Inner Voice here, just checking in to see if you're enjoying the show. I'm sure you've heard enough by now to know that Gabe has a fragile ego. Help him out by leaving a nice comment or a rating, or share an episode. Go ahead and close your eyes and think of that one friend or enemy who would get a kick out of this thing. Send her a text and stop ghosting your friends. Okay, back to making fun of Gabe.
Welcome back to the Fugues postgame. So, Inner Voice, we talked about apophenia, and as an insider, I'm wondering what else you clocked during my spatula freakout.
Well, Gabe, one thing that stood out to me was your tendency to remain in zombie mode.
Zombie mode.
Yeah, autopilot.
Ah, yes.
You love routine.
I really do.
You're like an Excel macro, especially when you're making lunch, that same stupid meal you make every day.
It's a good meal, though.
Every step is basically programmed.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're always doing something else while you cook, taking a work call, listening to a podcast, or rage scrolling Twitter.
Do I?
You sure do, but the spatula being out of place broke the macro.
Yeah, I've read that our bodies and brains prefer to be doing mindless tasks as it's the most energy efficient.
Yeah, it requires more energy than the body wants to expend. It's theorized, actually, that free will only comes online when we break our patterns, when our expectations are violated.
So that's why I was so annoyed that I couldn't find my spatula. I had to use free will to solve the problem, which expended more energy than I wanted to.
Yep, and that's why you started spazzing out, you big baby, which didn't exactly help your logic.
Yeah, my kettle was really whistling there.
Why don't you let me do the metaphors?
So that extra stress put me in what Daniel Kahneman calls System 1 hot thinking. It's like the Twitter take.
Yeah, it's like you're reading a Ben Shapiro tweet.
Right.
Had you not been so bent out of shape?
Bent.
What?
Bent Shapiro.
Had you not been so riled up, you could have paused and put yourself in System 2 cool thinking.
Yeah, I needed to, switch social media channels to LinkedIn.
Totally. You're not going to rant and swear on LinkedIn talking about Ben Shapiro's micropenis. In fact, you probably just don't say anything at all because, let's face it, nothing good happens on Twitter.
So snapping out of zombie mode required more energy and sent me into System 1 Twitter thinking, and by then, I'm basically taking orders from Q.
QAnon joke. Yeah, didn't see that coming. It just explains why you're an asshole.
Great. It's a neuroscience rule of law that our brains didn't evolve to solve for accuracy. They evolved to maintain balance in our weird, complex bodies, to keep them running, and to keep them alive long enough to pass along its genes. Brains don't care if you successfully mansplain the NFL touchback rule to your wife. There is nothing in our environment sitting on top of the food chain that forces us to ensure we know exactly what is going on both inside and outside our bodies. If anything, our bodies crave certainty, not accuracy. So this brings me to a mini fugue, our second fugue of this episode, that will illustrate a different mental phenomenon, further underscoring why we're wrong about things so often, or at least me, why I'm wrong about things so often. It's really a mini fugue. The length of elapsed time this fugue covers is probably about 13 milliseconds. This one's called, ah shit, I spilled my beer. This was probably 15 years ago. I was hosting a poker game in my kitchen. I was the house, handling the money, dealing hands, ordering the pizza, ensuring Gordon and my sister Lily had a fresh drink, changing the music, probably more frequently than I needed to. And at some point in my manic hosting duties, I knocked a bottle of shitty light beer over. At least, that's what I saw. It turns out, I knocked it, and it started falling over, but I instinctively caught it with my hand, like the way a pitcher catches a line drive hit right at her. You don't try to catch it, you just catch it. But the crazy thing is, I actually saw it spill beer foam all over the table. And I know I have no way to prove this. You'll just have to take my word for it. I basically dreamt the flash of a scene that never occurred. Welcome back to the Spilled Beer mini fugue analysis. I'm your host and serial hallucinator, Gabriel Berezin.
And I'm a smarter version of Gabe.
Welcome back, Inner Voice.
Let's get right to it. The big mental phenomenon at play for this one is expectation hallucinations.
So that's how I saw something that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, you ever clear your cache in your web browser to accommodate a website's most recent updates?
Yeah.
Same idea. You had to clear your cache.
That's so dorky.
Tell me about it.
So a web browser doesn't reload a website every time it visits it. It takes what it already downloaded from prior visits and pieces it together.
Right, it's a stretch, but that's the idea.
So clearing my cache is in the brain aspect of it, allowing the information from my eyes to correct the picture my mind tried to portray.
Yeah, the first thing you quote-unquote see is your brain's best guess of an outcome. It's not necessarily using all the information coming in from your eyes to build the picture.
Is this all the time?
Yeah, it's all the time. In his TED Talk, neuroscientist Anil Seth shares how we're always in a controlled hallucination.
What's that mean, controlled?
It means we're all hallucinating, but it's kept in check, not always successfully, by the information coming in from our senses.
I'd rather listen to my eyes.
Okay, now you're sounding like a stoner.
Well, I feel stoned. Okay, so my spilled beer fantasy was just an inaccurate portrayal of what my brain expected to happen in the external world.
Based on its past experiences, yeah.
Expectation hallucinations.
Expectation hallucinations.
I don't know about you, but I'm entertained by this reality. Sometimes it feels like I'm just watching TV, except the show is my consciousness. Like, holy shit, that's where my mind went. Because it seems more often than not, I only have a pretty small claim as to what actually goes on in there. If I had a radio show, I'd be queuing up Where's My Mind by the Pixies, and it would be the original, not the twee ukulele instrumentals you're used to in every streaming network drama you've watched in the past 5 years. I'd also probably play Memories Can't Wait by the Talking Heads, and maybe something off Check Your Head by the Beastie Boys. Is this too on the nose?
Yes. Yes, it is.
So, yeah, I'm irrational. But how is anyone rational? Between apophenia, hot System 1 Twitter thinking, very minimal check your head free will, and expectation hallucinations, it's a modern miracle the human population has any real understanding of the outside world. It shouldn't come as a surprise QAnon is such a thing, and flat earthers still roam the planet, waiting to drop off the edge somewhere. Everyone is irrational. It's how we're built. Based on culture and upbringing, some are just maybe a bit more irrational than others, to be nice about it. Imagine how much easier we'd understand each other if we all accepted that we're hallucinating our realities and making bad assumptions pretty much most of the time, and that what we see out there is just an approximation of what's actually out there. We could start with a Humans Anonymous type greeting, one that establishes an equal starting point of communication, that our thinking is flawed. So, if you could all top off your coffee in the styrofoam cups. Oh, hey, Terry, welcome back. Hey, new guy, can you grab one of the folding chairs for Terry and one more for Evelyn? I think she's running late tonight. I'll just get us started. I'm Gabriel Berezin, and I believe some totally stupid shit that is definitely wrong sometimes, and that's just my brain's fault.
Hi, Gabe.
Hi, Gabe. Hi, Gabe. Okay, who's up next? Get ready to tell the group how you thought or believed something totally wrong, or were thinking irrationally, and then how you actively checked your head or cleared your cache to understand things better. And not just the people here in this old church community room, but all of you listening.
Whoa, that was creepy.
That was creepy. Email me at fuguespod@gmail.com. FUGUESPOD@gmail.com. In the process of writing and recording this episode, I've had a lot of self-discovery. I have a hot head, but there's a weird satisfaction to building self-awareness and admitting when I'm wrong. And I think we'd do ourselves a big favor if this became a more common behavior. Let's celebrate our irrationality by calling it out, sharing it, and laughing about it. And then understanding that we're wrong about most stuff. Thanks for joining on this maiden voyage of the Fugues podcast. If you want to get all up in the academic stuff, have at it. There are links in the show notes to an absolutely brilliant Scientific American article about the brain's autopilot function. A Neil Seth's TED Talk on hallucination is in there, as well as Daniel Kahneman's book on System 1 and 2 thinking. And there's some links to some killer Your Mind is a Whack Job songs that I mentioned earlier. You'll also find some rabbit hole articles about apophenia and how it's used in those Netflix shows. I even stumbled onto a conspiracy theory that shares how Back to the Future predicted 9/11. I thought it was a joke, but I think they're serious, and it's kind of compelling, honestly. I don't know, maybe don't read that. Most importantly, there's a link to the egg spatula model I use. Fugues is produced by me, Gabriel Berezin, and many of the other voices in my head. I promise next episode we'll hear some other voices from other people's heads. Thanks to Montan for her editorial help, Grant Zubritsky for his music and sound design, and Justin Montan for his logo design. See you in the next Fugue.